Thyroid bond to thyroid lamina. You have the pretracheal layer which is merging with the fibrous pericardium. Here you have the vertebral column. You have the second cervical vertebrae after the first.
Hello.
So you have the general investing layer of deep fascia. You have the pretracheal. And you have the prevertebral layer of deep fascia, which is attached above the base of the skull, and it blends with the anterior longitudinal ligament of the thoracic core vertebra. So you have the three layers of the deep cervical fascia, which are which are the first layer is general investing layer. Second is pretracheal in front of trachea. Third is prevertebral in front of the vertebral column. And this prevertebral layer is ending at thoracic core vertebra by blending with the anterior longitudinal ligament. You see, the all vertebrae are joined together by a ligament which is called as anterior longitudinal ligament. So what you have understood, that the cervical fascia has got three layers: a general investing layer, a pretracheal layer, and a prevertebral layer. The entire neck is surrounded by deep cervical fascia, which has got an outer layer, a middle layer, and a posterior layer. The outer layer is general investing layer. The second layer is pretracheal, and the third one is prevertebral. So have you understood? There are three layers of deep cervical fascia: general investing, pretracheal, prevertebral. Now the deep cervical fascia, what is deep cervical fascia? The deep fascia is the fascia which binds the structure with the superficial fascia and the underlying structure. Here it is nothing else but the loose areolar tissue which is condensed to form these three fascia. That is pretracheal, prevertebral, and general investing layer of deep fascia. Now let us see what are the attachments of the general investing layer, then its spacing, and then we will talk about pretracheal and prevertebral. So general investing layer of deep fascia, if you look, so this one is the skull, right? and you have the mandible fitted in this skull. So if you look at the deep cervical fascia, पूरा वाला लाना चाहिए था skull. The deep cervical fascia has its attachment above and below, behind and in front. So behind, if you look the attachment of the general investing layer of deep cervical fascia, you will find that posteriorly it is attached to the external occipital protuberance. If you look the skull from behind, you will find that this is the skull, the norma occipitalis. This is the external occipital protuberance. You have the highest nuchal line. You have the external occipital crest. You have the superior nuchal line. And you have the inferior nuchal line. This one is the mastoid process. This is mastoid process. So general investing layer of deep fascia is this, right? It is the outermost layer of the deep cervical fascia, which is attached above and below. The above on the back, it is attached to this external occipital protuberance, to superior nuchal line, and the mastoid process. And the mastoid process, that is behind. Attachment of the general investing layer of deep fascia behind. It is attached to the superior nuchal line, and the mastoid process, right? And then it is attached to the cartilaginous part of the external ear. It is attached to the zygomatic arch. It is attached to the lower border of the mandible and the symphysis menti. So what you will find, the general investing layer fascia, behind it is attached to this portion, that is superior nuchal line, mastoid process. On the side and above, you have the zygomatic, you have the cartilaginous part, you have the zygomatic arch, you have the lower border of the mandible up to the symphysis menti. So that is the upper attachment of the cervical, general investing layer of deep cervical fascia. Lower down, the attachment is that from behind forwards, it is attached to the spine of the scapula, to acromion process, and then it comes forwards. It is attached to the lower border. It is attached to the upper border of clavicle and the manubrium sterni. So from behind forwards, it is also attached to ligamentum nuchae, right? And it is attached to the spine of the scapula. If you look, this is the cervical vertebral column, and you have from the thoracic tube to this is scapula somewhere here. This is the spine, and you have the acromion process. So this behind and below, it is attached to the spine of the scapula, to the acromion process, and then finally you have the clavicle. At the upper border of the clavicle, you have this clavicle. हो गया चल रहा है. This is clavicle. So the lower attachment of the general investing layer fascia is the spine of the scapula, the acromion process, the clavicle, the clavicle and manubrium sterni and manubrium sterni. So that is the lower attachment of the general investing layer of the deep fascia. Posteriorly, it is attached to ligamentum nuchae. Anteriorly, it is continuous with the fascia of the opposite side. And it is also attached in the anterior median plane. So that is the attachments of the general investing layer. I just repeat that general investing layer of deep fascia, general investing layer of deep fascia is attached above to the superior nuchal line, to mastoid process, to cartilaginous part of external ear, to zygomatic arch, to lower border of mandible and symphysis mentae. So that is all which is attached here above. Below, it is attached to the spine of the scapula, to acromion process, to clavicle, and then it is attached to the manubrium sterni. So you have the vertical extent and you have the lower lower attachment. You have the vertical and you have the lower. Anterior, posterior will be more clear when we talk about the cross section of the neck. So that is about the general investing layer of the deep fascia. Then what you will find that there is a pretracheal fascia and you have the prevertebral layer. Posteriorly, anteriorly, above, downward. Now, tracings of the general investing layer of the fascia. When you trace the general investing layer of the deep fascia above, when you trace it above, as I told you, it covers the entire neck. As it is going up, it splits. It splits as two places, one below the mandible, one below the zygomatic arch, to enclose two glands. And these two glands are parotid and submandibular salivary gland. So what you will find when you cut a section, eh, this is the mandible. If you look in the from the inner side of the mandible, what you will find that mandible has got ramus and it has got a body. Here you have a process which is called as lingular process, where the sphenomandibular ligament is attached. Where the sphenomandibular ligament is attached. Extending from this ramus to body, there is a groove. There is a groove which is called as, there is a line which is called as mylohyoid line. Mylohyoid line. And below that, there is a groove. On the mylohyoid line, there is attachment of, there is a on the mylohyoid line, there is attachment of a muscle which is called as mylohyoid muscle. Is the muscle which is called as mylohyoid muscle. So this mylohyoid muscle is attached here. Above, when you are cutting a section, you will find that the mylohyoid line, and here you have the hyoid bone in section. So the general investing layer fascia, when it goes up, it splits into two lamina. It splits into two lamina to enclose a gland, and that gland is called as submandibular salivary gland. It's called as submandibular salivary gland. What happens? The submandibular salivary gland is present somewhere here in the submandibular fossa. So general investing layer of the deep fascia, as it is going up, it splits at two places. One here, another at the parotid region. So when it goes up, it is attached. It is attached to the mylohyoid line and to the lower border of the. This is the mylohyoid line. And this one is lower border of mandible. So what you will find, the general investing layer of deep fascia, general investing layer, when it ascends up, it splits to enclose submandibular salivary gland. and running between the submandibular salivary gland and this fossa, there is an artery which indents the posterior border of the submandibular gland, and that artery is facial artery. That artery is facial artery. So what I was telling, that the general investing layer of deep fascia, when it ascends up, it splits to enclose submandibular salivary gland. Number one. Submandibular salivary gland, and when it goes into the parotid region, this is the parotid region. You have the cartilaginous part, and you have here the stellate process. The stellate process. What happens when the fascia, and here is somewhere, here is the zygomatic arch in section, and you have the parotid gland. You have the parotid gland. So at the lower border, what happens? I was telling about the general investing layer of deep fascia. When it is going up, it splits to enclose submandibular salivary gland. It splits at the lower border of the trapezius, at the lower border of the parotid, to enclose the parotid gland. A superficial layer passes up and is attached to zygomatic arch. The deep layer goes to be attached to the tympanic part, and it is thickened. It is also extending to stellate process in the form of a ligament which is called as stylomandibular ligament. Stylomandibular ligament. This fascia, which is superficial layer, a superficial layer and a deep layer. The general investing layer of deep fascia. As it ascends up, it splits to enclose two glands, one submandibular, one parotid. When it is going and reaching the lower border of the parotid, it splits to form a superficial layer and a deep layer. The deep layer forms stylomandibular ligament, is thickened to form stylomandibular ligament, and it is also attached to tympanic part of the external ear. This is zygomatic arch. Is it clear? So what you will find that when the fascia is going to be attached upwards, or when you are going to trace the general investing layer of deep fascia, this one, right? It splits above here, somewhere here, to enclose submandibular salivary gland. It splits to enclose parotid gland somewhere here. So above it splits to enclose submandibular. This is parotid gland. And embedded on the surface of the parotid gland, there are lymph nodes. There are lymph nodes. This fascia is thickened, the superficial fascia is thickened to form a layer which is called as parotidomesenteric fascia. Parotidomesenteric fascia. Because it extends up to masseter also, hence it is called as parotidomesenteric fascia. Inflammation of these lymph nodes, or during the inflammation of parotid gland, which is called as parotitis, what happens? There is a very less space between this fascia and the gland, and what you will find, the pus or the inflammatory exudate collects in between this and this, leading to intense pain. Sorry, leading to intense pain, which is due to the inflammation of these lymph nodes and the parotid gland. And there is no space to expand, hence it is very painful. Parotitis is very painful. Parotitis is very painful. Inflammation of the parotid gland is parotitis, which is very painful. So that is how the fascia, general investing layer of deep fascia, is going up, and it splits. It splits to enclose the submandibular and the parotid gland. Now, when you trace this fascia below, when you trace this fascia below, I have told you that the fascia is attached to clavicle and to manubrium sterni. It is attached to clavicle and manubrium sterni. So it again is It again splits into two to enclose two spaces, one above the manubrium sterni, one above the clavicle. So the fascia, when it descends, this is the general investing layer of deep fascia. When it is descending like this into an anterior layer and a posterior layer to enclose a space which is called a supraclavicular space. This one is general investing layer. This is clavicle. This is clavicle. And you have, if you remember, that while we were talking about the superior extremity, you have the pectoralis major. In the subclavius groove, there is a muscle which is called as subclavius. And this general investing layer of deep fascia is then continuous with the clavipectoral fascia like this. It splits it to enclose subclavius, and then it again reunites to enclose pectoralis minor. To enclose pectoralis minor. In the upper part, this fascia also splits to enclose the inferior belly of omohyoid. So what you will find that there is a space which is above the clavicle, hence it is called as supraclavicular space. Supraclavicular space. Is it clear? So when the deep fascia, a general investing layer of deep fascia is passing down, it splits. It splits to enclose supraclavicular fossa or space. And passing through this supraclavicular fossa is the external jugular vein. Is the external jugular vein which is draining into subclavian. And you have the supraclavicular nerves. Supraclavicular nerve. The nerve are going in front, and they are called as supraclavicular nerves. So you contents include supraclavicular nerve and external jugular vein. So that is number one space. The second space which I have told you is the space above the manubrium sterni. If you cut a section through manubrium sterni, you will find that this is the manubrium, and this manubrium sterni placed like this is the upper part of the sternum, which is called as manubrium sterni, whose lower border is at the level of the fourth thoracic vertebrae. And again, the general investing layer of deep fascia, when it descends down, it splits into two. One is this layer, anterior layer, and a posterior layer. It splits to form a space which is called as suprasternal space, which is called as above the sternum, hence it is called as suprasternal space. Suprasternal space of Burns. Suprasternal space of Burns. Now this suprasternal space of Burns contains a ligament which is called an interclavicular ligament because it is in section. It contains jugular venous arch There are two veins, which a vein joining the two anterior jugular vein is the jugular venous arch, and it has got lymph node. And it has got lymph node. So what you will find that there is a ligament. This is called as, this one is general investing layer of fascia. When it goes down, it splits. It splits into two lamina to enclose supraesternal space. Supraesternal space of bund. Supraesternal space of bund, which contains interclavicular ligament between the two clavicles, interclavicular ligament, jugular venous arch, and you have lymph nodes. So what you have understood, that the general investing layer of deep fascia, it splits above to enclose what? Two glands, that is submandibular and parotid. Below it splits. To enclose two spaces. One is supraesternal space, another is supraclavicular space. The supraclavicular space is above the clavicle, the supraesternal space above the manubrium sterni. Is it clear? So that is about the attachment and tracing of the general investing layer of deep fascia. I hope you must have understood that the fascia is attached behind to external occipital protuberance, to superior nuchal line, to mastoid process, to cartilaginous part of the external ear, to zygomatic arch, to lower part of the mandible, and symphysis mentae. Below, from behind forwards, it is attached to the spine of the scapula, to a acromion process, and then it goes to be attached to the clavicle and manubrium sterni. As it is going to be attached on clavicle, it splits to form supraclavicular space, and as it is going to be attached to the sternum, it forms supraesternal space of bund. So that is about the general investing layer of deep fascia. Now what we'll find, the general investing layer of deep fascia, it also covers the posterior triangle. Now I have to cut a section so that you are able to understand. Deep fascia, when you see, it is splits to enclose two muscles, two glands, and two spaces. One is two glands. Two glands are parotid and submandibular. Two spaces are supraclavicular and supraesternal. Two muscles, that is sternocleidomastoid, and trapezius. So that is the horizontal tracing of the general investing layer of the deep fascia. I hope it is clear. The general investing layer of deep fascia splits to enclose trapezius, is reunites to form the fascia which form the roof of the posterior triangle, splits to enclose sternocleidomastoid, reunites to split to form the supraesternal space of bund, reunites, and then it splits to enclose the sternocleidomastoid, unite to form the roof, and again it splits at the anterior border of trapezius to enclose it, and then to the back where they start crossing. So what you have a vertical disposition, a horizontal disposition, and a horizontal, vertical, above and lower. Posterior, I have told you, anteriorly it is continuous with the fascia of the full side. Okay? So that is about the general investing layer of the deep fascia. Now there are other features of the deep fascia, that it splits. There is a formula of two. It splits to enclose two muscles. It splits to enclose two glands. It splits